What's up, War Room? Bye week. We got bye week grades. Joe Caparoso, joined as always by Connor Rogers. Before we record the pod, we do this nice 30-minute video. And since it's the bye, again, we could take a step back, go through every position, do some totally subjective grades, and get everyone angry or happy. Connor, how we doing? How we feeling? It feels good to be on a 2-game winning streak and have a week off to relax, give the content a little air to breathe. It's nice. I feel it feels good.
It's so nice. You get a little bit of a rest somewhat. With the Jets not playing this week, things feel not slow for me, but not chaotic, where I'm not, building my tape film room for SMY, and you could actually look back at the whole season, not just the week before. And like you said, we can kind of breathe and look at things ahead and where things stand with this team right now. That it's so fresh because they're 3-3. They really come out of the bye with a new season ahead of them, and most importantly, the most difficult part of their schedule behind them. And now you kind of see, I'm sure it coincides with the bye, but you see the Robert Saleh car wash on every program, and good for Saleh.
Yes,
good for Saleh. He should be smiling.
Enjoy
he should
it.
Be out enjoying it. It's hard to win. It's harder to win in New York. It's harder to have success in New York. It's one of those things that there's going to be a lot of tough times because everything's so reactionary. So enjoy the good times, and good for the fact that he has the Jets in a position where their season is one of the most interesting ones in the NFL when they really come back from Halloween and beyond.
High ratings following the Jets everywhere, as we've always said. An entertaining season. One of the more entertaining and unique seasons in the NFL so far. Every game has been down to the wire, high anxiety outside of that Cowboys game. And look, let's start ripping around position to position. We'll keep these quick so we can squeeze everything in before we get to the pod. Let's start with quarterback. 4 plays in, Aaron Rodgers gone. So effectively, this has been the Zach Wilson show. It should continue to be. I think it would make sense to make Simeon QB2 after the bye. No offense, Boyle. But Zach Wilson likely going to be the starter for the foreseeable future unless there's an injury. He's stabilized and righted the ship enough for him these last 3 weeks. I would say from a league-wide perspective, it's probably like a C-, D, C-. I'm not going to go into the D's because Zach's gotten better the last few weeks.
Better.
It's a C. It's like a C-. And for Zach Wilson the last 3 weeks, he's been like the B version of himself, the B+ version of himself. But league-wide, I'd say I don't know, the Jets probably have the 23rd best quarterback, 25th best quarterback situation in the league right now because there's a lot of shaky people. Look at the 1 o'clock slate this week and look at the starting quarterbacks, and you'll understand why I'm saying Zach is in the mid-20s right now.
Oh, it's insane. We were going through it on Waiver Wire and Fantasy Today on Fantasy Football Happy Hour, and we couldn't fit the injured quarterbacks just from last week on a graphic. We had to leave out Ryan Tannehill and Baker Mayfield, and that goes to show you that means, for the Bears, maybe a Tyson Bagent, maybe Brian Hoyer for the Raiders, maybe Malik Willis for the Titans. We are in PJ Walker started for the Browns last week. League-wide, the backup quarterback situations are shaky at best, at absolute best. So for the Jets, which kind of illuminates your point, anything can happen. Zach can easily get hurt. You need somebody behind him that can play football, and we're not really convinced Tim Boyle is that guy, and we think Trevor Siemian at least can go out there and be okay. Not like Luke Falk is what I'm talking about here, not Bryce Petty. That's what we're trying to avoid. So for Zach, in a nutshell, I would have went with a C-. I think that. And you're right, there is a curve, right? On Zach's own curve, this has been the B+ version of what we've seen from him. So that's a good thing. League-wide, I would have went with a C-, because there are still
the Jets don't score touchdowns? That's part of the problem?
Yeah, you know what, though? I'll give him this. The red zone play calling has been really bad, and
yes,
he's a part of the problem, but they're not doing anything to help him in the red. So let's see if they can improve on that out of the bye. The personnel, the more I watch this team, offensively, defense is a joy. Offensively, it's interesting where Zach ranks on the list of problems because when Garrett Wilson has to come off the field, the pass-catching personnel is honestly bad.
It's ugly.
Like I'm
ugly.
trying to say mediocre, but I don't know if I can give them that. I think mediocre is the Lazard-Conklin bucket.
Yep.
But I'm talking about the group as a whole. Cobb plays a lot. Uzama's not really a factor in the pass game. They don't use Ruckert in the pass game. Carter's been a total dud in the pass game. They don't use Cook in the pass game, and they don't use Brees enough. Last week they did, but they need to do more of that. They are really one capable receiver away from being average, and that's scary. So I'll give Zach that benefit of the doubt that it hasn't been pretty on that side either. Yeah, CC minus for Zach Wilson, and hopefully that grade goes up when the competition gets a lot. Really the defenses decrease in the powers that they're going to see over these next couple weeks.
So let's jump over to the receivers now. I would say on the
I
whole,
guess I would give that one away.
On the whole, yeah, it's probably been about, again, a C minus. And the reason that it's bad is because of how much they're playing Randall Cobb. And Randall Cobb, by almost any metric, is like the worst offensive player in the NFL. And I'm not saying that with a hyperbole. And like we joked about this. You're not being mean. Like he runs a ton of routes and doesn't catch the ball at all. So like he's just out there slowly running routes, clogging up space, and then dropping passes when it's thrown to him, which is not surprising. We talked about this a lot in the summer. Like this guy, if he's here, it has to be a very specific niche role. And they're basically playing him as like their full-time wide receiver 3, which is objectively insane, especially when you have Xavier Gibson on the roster now. And even Hardman, I would have... Not that Hardman, I think, has much of a future here, but you'd be getting more out of him than Cobb. So that really drags it down. I think, Garrett Wilson, he's got, 2 touchdowns. He's made more than enough big plays. A couple like 50-50 balls you'd like to see him come down with, but he is still exceptional. And you feel just as good about him as you did